I find that when you really know who you are and you know your character, nobody else can tell you who you are because you know who you are. Nobody can tell you anything about you or say anything about you because you know who you are and you know your character, you know the type of person you are. Especially when you like yourself and you're becoming the best version of yourself, I feel like your energy is just different and it's like magnetic and radiant. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. So I turned 26 a few days ago and I wanted to do a early 20s lessons I wish I knew slash like survival guide for girls in their early 20s. Because honestly, I've seen a lot of videos from people I think my age now and older who make videos about like, oh, like I regret my 20s and all of that. And personally, I don't feel that way at all. I really like where I am now and I like what I did in my early 20s to get myself to where I am. So I just wanted to give my perspective on advice that I would give to girls in their early 20s because I do not feel any major regret about anything that has really happened in my life and I'm just very content with where I am now. So my first piece of advice I would give to any girl in her early 20s, or honestly any age, but it is to reverse engineer your life and figure out where you want to be in your late 20s and 30s and figure out what you need to do now in order to get to where you want to be, whether that's going back to school, moving to a new city, getting a different job. I would say have a really good idea of where you want to be and then work backwards and just figure out, okay, this is where I am now. If I want to be here by my late 20s, my early 30s, this is what I need to do. And I would also say like having a plan is really good, but you need to be open to being flexible because life happens. Things don't always go according to plan, as you probably know. But I find that especially in your early 20s, it's so easy to just feel lost and feel like you're not doing what you should be doing. And I feel like you're just inundated with advice from so many people and with social media on what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. So for you to feel a sense of, you know, like feeling grounded and having somewhat of a life purpose, having an idea of what you want your life to look like in your 30s and in your late 20s can be really helpful so that you always have something that you're working towards, even in those moments when you feel lost. So the next lesson is a quote that I love. I heard it a few years ago, but it's essentially, you're always on time for your own life. And I honestly love that quote because it is so easy to compare yourself to like people around you and what you see on social media, especially in your early 20s, because I think it's such a interesting point of your life because I think it's the first time when people start branching out from the conventional path. Because obviously like prior to your early 20s, middle school, high school, college, you and your friends and your peers are all doing the same thing. But then your early 20s, after you graduate college, some people go back to school, some people move to a different country, some people buy a house, some people get married, people do truly whatever they want to do. And it can be really easy to feel like you're behind or you're not doing what you should be doing. But just always remember, you're truly always on time for your own life. And as long as you have some sort of direction and vision of where you're going and what you want your life to look like, you won't get as easily swayed and start comparing yourself to other people because you know that you're on time for your own life. So you don't need to worry about when so-and-so does something. Learning to reassure yourself is a very helpful skill that will help you in like every aspect of your life. My next piece of advice is to invest in areas of your life that will long-term benefit you, whether that's therapy or going to the gym or being really on top of your health or your education or your finances. This is really the time to invest in those areas because you develop skills and you just gain knowledge that you'll carry with you for the rest of your life. I think when I was 21, I did personal training for 10 months. And like 10 months is quite a long time, but the things that I learned those 10 months in personal training, anytime I go to the gym, I haven't forgotten any of it, whether it's technique, whether it's workouts I can do, whether it's like how to structure a workout. All that knowledge I gained when I was 21, I still carry with me. Same with therapy. I did therapy, I think again for 10 months, and the skills that I learned in therapy, I still carry with me today. And investing in your education, I feel like we all know that quote. I remember when I was growing up, I always heard people say, education is the one thing that nobody can ever take away from you, and it's so true. Having a degree is something you will always have for the rest of your life, even if you don't use it. I always tell my friends, like, even if you're not able to commit to whether it's personal training or therapy or any of those things for a long period of time, even dedicating 1 or 2 months to it, you will learn things that you will carry with you afterwards, whether that's when you're in the gym by yourself or in your day-to-day life. Like with personal training, like when you're in the gym by yourself, even if it's only 2 months of personal training that you do, any other time you go to the gym, you're still going to remember everything that they told you. Same with therapy. Therapy is very, very expensive, especially if you don't have insurance coverage. Even 2 or 3 months of therapy, your therapist will teach you skills and give you insight that will allow you to navigate your day-to-day life better. The next lesson can be a little bit controversial, but I'm such an advocate of working with what you have when you're young rather than jumping right into cosmetic surgery, because cosmetic surgery is permanent and your face and your body is still developing. I just think it can be sometimes so risky and short-sighted to make these permanent changes to your body at such a young age. And I'm such an advocate of just trying to work with what you have and trying to enhance your natural features, or getting a really good skincare routine, or just going to the gym consistently. In my opinion, I really think people look their best when they are their healthiest. And not even just talking about outward appearance, I feel like even your energy is different when you really just like take care of yourself and like who you are, rather than doing like these like short-term fixes to fix something that might be deeper than surface level. Obviously, when you get older, you have agency, you're independent, you can do what you want, but I think at a young age, my advice is always just like work with what you have, get a really good skincare routine, go to the gym consistently, and just become your healthiest self. And then afterwards, like when you're in this empowered state of really just liking who you are, then you can maybe make the decision to do something more permanent. But I think at first, it's always good to just like work with what you have. I feel like this video is gonna be so long. I'm so sorry. So my next piece of advice is to get comfortable not fitting in. And this kind of goes into the second lesson that I said earlier about just truly believing that you're always on time for your own life. When you get comfortable not fitting in, it allows you to be more concerned with doing things the right way rather than doing things just so you can fit in. And because everybody else around you is doing something, learning to be comfortable not fitting in will allow you to just stay authentic and true to who you are. My next lesson / piece of advice is to invest in your friendships. This is the time to invest in your friendships because you have so much time, and when you get older, people just get so busy and responsibilities just keep piling up. I feel like when you're young, people always tell you like take your friendship seriously, and personally, when adults in my life were telling me to take my friendship seriously, like I listened to them. That was something that I did not play about. When I was younger, I feel like I just dedicated a lot of time to making female friends because that's something that I've always just valued, and I always knew like in my 30s and my 40s, I want to have a really good social life. My parents are so social and my mom has so many friends, and I remember growing up, I would just see my mom with just so many friends, and like my mom would just always be on the phone with someone, and that was something that I saw and I was like, okay, I want that. Harvard conducted the largest study on human happiness, and what they found, the people that are the happiest in life, it's not the people that are the richest, it's not the people who like have the most assets or are the most educated. They found that close relationships to those in your life was the most important factor in determining human happiness. And the study even found that having good relationships can help you live longer and healthier. The next piece of advice is to make friends with women who are older than you and who are doing things that you want to do. I find that most of the time, older women who are happy and content in their lives, they want to see you win because they've been through what you've been through, so they just give really good advice. I feel like you can just learn through other people versus learning personally in your own life. I was at this networking event a couple months ago, and I was speaking to one of the panelists, and she was explaining to me how the best way to learn how to do something is to find somebody who is currently doing that and ask them how they did it. I think that advice is applicable to what I was just saying about making friends with women who are older than you and who are doing things that you want to do or in places in their life where you want to be, because who else can tell you better than somebody who currently has what you want? The next piece of advice, in my opinion, I think that the best relationship advice comes from people that know you in real life and people that you know have your best interest at heart and are currently in circumstances that you would want to be in. I remember when I was younger, sometimes I feel like people would you know, like try to give me advice or tell me to do things, I personally just like wouldn't take the advice seriously, because I was just like, I don't want your situation. So I just had a lot of discernment with whose advice I would take. But I think when it comes to relationships, people that you know in real life and people that know you well and have the kind of relationship that you want and the kind of life that you want, those people are more likely to give the best advice. That's what I found personally. Okay, the next advice is to learn to build your self-esteem off of things that you have control over versus areas in your life that you don't have a lot of control over, and areas in your life that are pretty inconsistent and fleeting, such as male attention and validation. I feel like when you get older, it can be very obvious to spot people that are very male-centered and didn't necessarily do the work to have a self-esteem outside of men. One example is being really good at school. When I was younger, there was this YouTuber I watched who lived in California, and I think she was like one of those study YouTubers, but her whole channel was about doing really good in school, moving to your dream city, and just having a successful career. And that was a message that just instilled in me at a young age. And I think a lot of my self-esteem when I was younger was kind of centered around like being academically driven and being athletic and being a friendly person and learning to have like good female friendships. That was an area of my life that I rooted my self-esteem in, because I felt like I had a lot of control over those areas, versus other areas such as being seen as attractive is not something that you have a lot of control over. So what's the point of putting your self-esteem there? Number 10, find a way to live in a different city or live in a different country for a period of time, whether that's studying abroad or doing an internship in a new country or a new city. There is so much personal growth and development and just expansion that you experience when you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and you're forced to learn to navigate this new environment that you're in and learn to make friends. I lived in France for a year when I was 19, and I remember after I completed my year abroad, I felt so self-sufficient. I genuinely felt like, you can throw me anywhere in the world, give me 2 or 3 months and I'll be good. Moving to New York was such a seamless transition because I had already lived in a new country where I was forced to learn a different language. Coming here was honestly pretty easy. My next advice is to build good habits for your health. I have found that it is a lot easier to get in shape when you're younger versus when you get older, because your metabolism slows down and the habits that you had when you were younger do not work when you get older. I feel like when I was 19, I could go to the gym for like 2 months and get in shape, and now that is not the case. I feel like it takes a lot more effort and a lot more work the older that you get. I've had to be a lot more cognizant of what I'm eating. Number 12 is, if you feel lost in life, do something challenging, because it will make you feel a sense of accomplishment and self-worth after you achieve it. So whether that's like committing to running a marathon or committing to study abroad or committing to learning a new language or going back to school, just do something that challenges you and brings you out of your comfort zone. I feel like when you do that, it gives you some sort of direction and some sort of purpose that sometimes you can feel like you're missing. My next piece of advice is a quote that one of my friends told me, and I always think about it from time to time. But it's essentially the idea that inaction is the best action. Sometimes I feel like when you're confused and you don't know what to do, or if you feel really overwhelmed and you don't want to act in a rash manner, choosing to do nothing and choosing to just say nothing sometimes can be the best action, because you can always go back and say something later on, but you can never take back what you've said. I don't think I've ever regretted not saying something. It's usually like regretting that you said something or regretting that you acted when you were feeling anxious or when you weren't thinking rationally. But I've never regretted the moments when I chose to take a step back and not do anything, or like chose to come back to a text or come back to something in a week when I'm more calm. Number 14, the dream lifestyle that you want. Figure out what salary you need to have that lifestyle, and then figure out the job and the education that you need to have in order to have that job. And there's so much information online, and you can use LinkedIn. I feel like that's something that I wish I had done when I was younger. I feel like my whole life I didn't care about money that much until I turned 21. After I had graduated university, I was 21, and that was the first time that I was properly thinking about the actual lifestyle that I wanted and the finances behind the lifestyle that I wanted. This was during COVID, and I remember just like taking a step back and being like, oh no, like I need to go back to school and I need to figure some things out and set myself up so that I can have a high earning career, because there's a certain lifestyle that I want for myself and I want to be able to give it to myself by myself. With what I know now, if I could go back in time, I would have been more strategic with my bachelor's degree and using my bachelor degree to set myself up for the life that I wanted rather than doing that with my master's degree. Number 15, learn your attachment style and actively work on it. This is something that I wish I had done when I was younger. I didn't start actively working on my attachment style until I would say maybe the last 2 years. All of the anxious attached girlies that are young and on TikTok, there's just a lot of discourse on TikTok about the attachment styles, but I would say like read about it, learn about it, and just learn to be securely attached, because it will help you navigate other areas of your life aside from relationships. Number 16 is to be knowledgeable and to be informed and to be smart. I am not a fan of the anti-intellectualism movement that has been going on. I think that as a woman, one of your best tools is to be knowledgeable and to be smart and to read books and to know what's going on in the world and to truly be informed and to have opinions that are rooted in evidence, not just social media. Like, consume other content than social media. So number 17, routines are everything, because your routine becomes your life. So having a morning routine, a night routine, a workout routine, a skincare routine, all of these routines just compound onto one another, and it's what really helps you develop good habits. Having solid routines are what is going to help you develop good habits that help you achieve your goals. And I feel like whenever I feel lost in life, just getting back into a routine, whether it's a morning routine or a night routine or like workout routine, is what helps me feel grounded again. Number 18 is feeling comfortable developing boundaries and saying no and honoring your feelings. I think that when you really learn to value your feelings and value yourself, you want to have boundaries, because having boundaries and being able to say no and being confident in your boundaries is really what is going to help you protect your peace and just protect yourself in this world. Number 19 is something that I feel like I especially learned last year is, as an immigrant daughter, I think a lot of us, whether you're Nigerian or Indian or Chinese, we have similar upbringings. And I think there is so much pressure put on immigrant daughters to essentially be perfect and achieve like everything by the age of 21. And I think last year I really just got comfortable doing what I wanted to do on my own timeline and not feeling so much cultural and familial pressure, because I'm the one who has to live with the decisions that I make. So I can't be making decisions to please people who aren't me at the subject of my own happiness, because I'm the one who has to live with these decisions. So I think it's so hard. Being an immigrant daughter, it's truly so hard, especially when you live at home. One piece of advice I have, and what I would tell myself if I was younger, is do not make all of your decisions based off of making other people happy and everybody else happy but yourself, because you're the one who has to live with those decisions. Number 20 is be choosy with who has access to you and who is around you, because it's really true what they say that your friends are a reflection of who you are, because they oftentimes influence what you do and the choices that you make. But you want to surround yourself with people who are going to allow you and influence you to make good decisions and become your best self. Be friendly, but you don't need to be friends with everybody, and not everybody needs to have access to you, know everything about you. Be selective. I'm very much an advocate of being selective with who knows what, who has access to you, because people don't need to know everything. And honestly, sometimes I think it's nice to have experiences and to have moments that nobody but yourself or maybe only a couple people really know about. I think it makes moments more special. Number 21, I've pretty much alluded to this throughout my video. My advice is just to really get serious about building the life that you want to have. Now is such a great time to do it, because if you make a mistake or if you change your mind, it's a lot easier to pivot when you're younger, when you don't have as many responsibilities, and when you have the time and the energy, versus when you get older. I think it can be more difficult when sometimes you're making decisions and you have to be considerate of other people or like circumstances in your life. Number 22 is to really just get to know who you are and develop a good relationship with yourself. Like, become friends with yourself and learn to just really like yourself and like spending time with yourself and just become friends with yourself. I find that when you really know who you are and you know your character, nobody else can tell you who you are because you know who you are. Nobody can tell you anything about you or say anything about you because you know who you are and you know your character, you know the type of person you are. Especially when you like yourself and you're becoming the best version of yourself, I feel like your energy is just different and it's like magnetic and radiant. My next one, number 23, use a bad habit that you have. Like, if you're a huge overthinker or if you ruminate a lot or you dwell a lot, that's something that I do. Try to like spin it into doing something positive rather than like overthinking and thinking that nothing's gonna work out for you. Spin it into overthinking that things are going to work out for you and just ruminate and dwell on positive things in your life rather than negative things. I mean, because you're still using that energy to overthink, so you might as well do it in a positive way than overthinking about things that are probably never going to happen and you're gonna forget about in like a few months. Number 24, I made a video about this. My advice is to take some time. You can dictate however much time you think is necessary for you, but taking some time away from social media will allow you to care about it in a healthier way. And I think use it in a healthier way when you take a break from it and you come back. I deleted all my social media for a year, and one of the biggest lessons I learned was that ultimately nobody really cares about you. And that quote, you wouldn't care what people thought about you if you realize how seldom they do. I truly believe that so much. And when you take some time away from social media, you realize that even more. And I also feel like you care about things a lot less when you get back to it. And I think my relationship with social media now is a lot healthier than it was in my very, very early 20s. My second last piece of advice is to become financially literate and financially knowledgeable. I think that's something that I really wish I took time to invest in when I was younger, because I feel like I had some bad spending habits. Sometimes I look back at the things that I bought and I'm like, why did I buy that? Like, I remember, especially during COVID, maybe because I was bored, I would just online shop so much, even though I literally wasn't going anywhere. I was really into skincare, but I would also just buy clothes because I don't know, they were on sale and I liked them. And now looking back, I'm like, I wish I didn't blow so much money on clothes that I don't even wear anymore. I wish I invested in like better quality clothes. And two, I wish I didn't buy half of the things that I bought when I was younger. So yeah, my piece of advice would be just learning good financial habits, learning how to invest, so that when you do like get like your big girl job, you know how to pay off your debt, how to pay off your student loans, and how to invest your money. My last piece of advice, it's not really advice, it's just my personal belief, which is that life is so long and you shouldn't be in such a rush to achieve things just so you can say that you have it and that you achieved it. I think it's so important to just always play the long game and do things that are authentic to you and do what you really want to do, not what you think you should be doing and what everybody else is doing. And yeah, life is so long, and I think part of what makes life fun is the quest to like figure things out and go after your goals. And sometimes things don't work out for yourself, and then you recalibrate, you regroup, and you try plan B. That doesn't work, you try plan C, or sometimes you create a whole new plan, a whole new direction. I feel like that is what makes life fun. And oftentimes in your early 20s, you're trying to rush the whole process and achieve everything so young. Something that I always say is life is long. You don't need to be in such a rush. We're all gonna get to where we want to be eventually, so you might as well do it correctly. So yeah, that's it. 26 pieces of advice that I would give to any girl in her early 20s. If you are still watching this, thank you so much, truly. And yeah, if you enjoyed this, please like and comment. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye.